All right, we are live on Proline TV as I'm sitting in along with Marty Leap. Marty, how are you doing? I think
Oh,
that's an understatement.
yeah. It's full, man. It's just when you think, someone who follows Penn State, fan of the team, however you want to put it, you think it can't get worse. They find a way to make it worse. And it's wild to think where we were, preseason, even 3 weeks ago. I mean, hell, where we were after the first offensive series of overtime against Oregon, where it looked like they were going to sneak out of there, finally get that coveted, elusive top 5 victory and truly be set up for national championship run as everyone anticipated. Then there's a bad snap to Dante Moore. The ball hits the ground, and you're thinking they're going to fall on it, and this is it. And the ball bounced right back to Dante Moore, and the bad luck hasn't stopped for Penn State since then. Yeah, this is, man, I don't think it's as bad as the UCLA loss because of UCLA and where they were. But, man, after what you saw, what UCLA did to Michigan State today, this one might be, considering it's at home, it potentially could be worse. And you're definitely, I think Penn State as a program was already in a position where you were kind of like, where do things go from here? And you're definitely in a where do things go from here now position. 3 losses, your college football playoff hopes are officially dashed. I don't care if they win out,
Oh yeah, it's
even
over.
though that would include 2 top 5 wins at this point with
Well, it's
Ohio
over
State.
because we
Yeah,
already know
over.
about who's not even going to be available. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
over.
the thing. Yeah, Drew Aller out for the year. His Penn State career is over. And now 3 losses, you got to wonder if you're Katron Allen, if you're denied Dennis Sutton, some of these other guys
True.
that came back. I'm sure the NIL deals they signed to return, there's probably something in there about opt-outs and whatnot. But, I mean, we've seen in the past where once it was clear a season was done with,
Yep.
James Franklin really focusing on playing the younger guys. But hell, who knows if James Franklin's even coaching this team the rest of the way? So
Yeah, it's
it's
but if you're
exhausting
him,
to
why would
wait
you do
on.
that anyway? I mean, the only reason you're playing young guys is because you think you're going to be back. And there's no way that there's no communication. Like, even if he's safe, he has to know he's safe before he decides what to do with the players. There's just not going to be some blank, well, I don't know what's going on. I mean, he's got to know what's going on. There's got to be a conversation where he either gets a vote of confidence or he gets fired. It's one or the other. There's no, because if they know what they're doing as a university, they have to talk to him. They have to say something to him to say, hey, you're okay. We're behind you. You're going to be here next year. So whatever you want to do with the young players, we're going to leave that up to you, or they're going to fire them. I mean, you can't just blindly just let them keep coaching without talking to them.
Yeah, there's definitely conversations that have to be had. I mean, I think, let's look ahead to tomorrow morning, to Sunday morning, and maybe if you're listening to this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, this already come to fruition. Even if James Franklin is not fired tomorrow, changes need to be made. Rather that's Andy Kotelnicki, rather it's Marquise Higgins, the wide receiver coach, Danny O'Brien, the quarterbacks coach. It was another disastrous day on special teams. Your special teams coordinator, Justin Lustig. I mean, it looked like in the second half when you had a chance to kind of right the ship and get this win and escape, you muff a punt that put Northwestern right back into it and put them back in the lead. I think, and that's where this conversation, right? If you're Pat Kraft, the athletic director, I think you have to have the conversation with James where it's like, hey, even if you're still the coach, come Monday morning, changes need to happen now, right? At this point, it's fair to have this conversation because unfortunately his Penn State career is over. You've completely wasted Drew Aller. Yeah, there was not always pretty from him, but the kid has all the physical tools. I'm still not going to be surprised if he turns into a good NFL quarterback. I wish him the best and hopefully he has a speedy recovery because people are going to say a lot of bad things about Drew Aller because the way his Penn State career shook out. But there's no denying that kid's desire, his passion, his want to win, his just love for football and love for Penn State. He had a press briefing this week with the media where he told them he spends literally 95% of his free time in the football facilities. Like that's his life. And I feel awful for Drew Aller because there was so much pressure on him. Hey, you're going to be that quarterback, right? Clemson was always Clemson until Deshaun Watson happened. And a lot of people said, hey, on the field, I always give that disclaimer, on the field, not off the field. On the field, Drew Aller was supposed to be Penn State's Deshaun Watson. And you came close. You came real close last year. And it didn't happen. And yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, changes need to happen now. Again, if I were Pat Kraft, I'm spending my night figuring out how we're going to pay this buyout, and James Franklin would be fired tomorrow. Um, But even if that's not what's going to happen, somebody needs to go. There needs to be a shakeup on this coaching staff, especially the offensive staff, where the offense just continues to sputter and putter along. I don't know where you go from here if you're Penn State. I really don't. But
if Drew is healthy, I do question whether or not they'd keep just going along and hoping upon hope that they could still find a way to get into the playoffs. But now without Drew, honestly, I'd actually be surprised if he wasn't fired tomorrow. It just makes too much sense to just move on because you want to start now. You have got to start the process now because you can't go around interviewing coaches if he's still your coach. That's a bad look. You can't do it. So you have to get rid of him now so you can start the process. You got to start finding who is going to take over this program, and it has to start as soon as possible.
I agree. And that's where it's like, your signing day is a little over 2 months away. You want to, if you're going to move on, you got to do everything in your power to keep that 2026 class intact. You've got to do everything in your power to keep this roster intact with the transfer portal. And like you said, the sooner you can start figuring out that new head coach, the sooner you can make those things happen. Again, if I'm Pat Kraft, then I'm with you. I'd move on now. And if I'm him, I've already called the agents of a Kenny Dillingham, of Glenn Schumann, of whoever it's going to be, and start gauging interest. Because in an ideal world, if you're going to move on from James Franklin, which I think at this point you almost have to, because this thing's completely off the rails.
It's over. It's not even you. I mean, it's over.
It is. And it's unfortunate. We talked about this last week. It's unfortunate because he's done a lot of good for Penn State. He really and truly has. And I know it's going to get lost right now, but the guy has done a lot of good for this program as a whole, but it's time. And
do you think that he should have been fired like a few years prior? Was there a moment during his tenure where fans wanted him out that you would have felt, yeah, maybe that was the right time?
I think the only two times it's ever really even somewhat been on the table, 2016, when they played Minnesota, they were 2-2. They were coming off getting shellacked by Michigan. They make a last second, rally to tie it at the buzzer with a field goal, win it in overtime. And that's what started that magical run in 16 of they wrote off, I think, 10 straight wins, won the Big Ten, had that instant classic in the Rose Bowl with USC. If they would have lost that game to Minnesota, I'm not convinced he wouldn't have been fired the day after. The only other time that I felt like there was even any sort of possibility, and it quickly got squashed, was 2021. So the COVID year, they go 4-5. It was the COVID year, throw it out the window. 2021, that was the year they started 4-0. They were ranked like second or third, went to Iowa, were just running laps around Iowa's defense, and then Sean Clifford got hurt and the entire season fell apart.
Yeah, I remember that.
But right at the tail end of the season, he got a contract extension. So you knew he wasn't going anywhere. So every time James has had his back against the wall, they've bounced back. They've always bounced back, right? 2016, it looked like he may have been one game away from getting fired, and they reel off 10 wins in a row, whatever it was, win the Big Ten, right? Coming out of 2021, the program looked a little unsteady. 2022, they win 11 games and win the Rose Bowl. 2023, they won 10, 11 games, whatever it was. Last year, you had that great playoff run. And I think that was part of it this week. It's like, hey, every time his back's been against the wall, they've come out firing, they've come out swinging, and they have fought back. That's not what happened today.
Yeah.
And now you've got the toughest 3-game stretch of your schedule. Coming into the season, I said this was the 3-game stretch that was going to define it. You go to Kinnick, which is at night, which, hey, I mean, Kinnick Stadium at nights where ranked teams go to die, so maybe Penn State being unranked will work in their favor there. And this is an Iowa team that, at least last I checked, was sticking it to Wisconsin.
Well, this is another reason, by the way, that you have to move on, because with these games, no matter who they're at, without Drew, you really should be going to your young players.
Yes.
And because you have to find out what you have.
Yes.
Which of these young guys that are going to get thrown into the wolves here for the rest of the season are going to be with us next year, and which ones aren't? And again, it's another reason, because again, unless, of course, James Franklin knows he's going to be back next year, he has no reason to do that. He's going to play all his veterans. He's going to try to win. And so, again, it just makes no sense. And I guess now the either way, I guess we're going to get the future at quarterback is that going to give the fans any sort of at least some hope of what to look forward to and what to tune in for? That, their next quarterback, this is their next guy that hopefully will take them to where they want to go in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. You always kind of hope that Ethan Grunkemeyer was going to be that guy regardless. A highly touted kid, top 100 prospect in his own rights. But it's like with what you've seen with Drew Aller, why, if it is still James Franklin and crew moving forward,
Yeah,
why?
no more James Franklin. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're a Penn State fan, and I think, again, this feeds more into your point, it's time to make the move. What they did with Drew Aller should give you no confidence they're going to be able to develop Ethan Grunkemeyer.
Who would take over? Who would take over
for head coach?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great call. I mean, I've said it before. Kenny Dillingham's my first call.
No. Who would take over if they fire? Who can they trust to run the ship?
See, my initial guess is Jim Knowles, just because he's been a head coach before. I'll beat him. Is it like Colgate or something? But at least he has the head coaching experience. But he hasn't been here very long. And that's where, like, you think of your offensive coordinator. I don't think it's out of their own possibility. Andy Koldernicki's getting fired tomorrow, regardless of what happens with
probably. Yeah.
Maybe Terry Smith, the cornersbacks coach, associate head coach, Penn State letterman. Before he got into college coaching, Terry was one of the most successful high school coaches in the history of Pennsylvania. Just very well respected within the program, within the entire state. Terry's, oh man, how old is Terry? Probably late 50s. Like, he's not a long-term answer. But I think a big thing, too, why you named Terry is he's so well respected in the state of Pennsylvania that some of these recruits that you're really going to have to fight right now to keep on board, he has a lot of pull in Pennsylvania high school football. And, you're already, if you're Penn State, you had Khalil Taylor, a 5-star wide receiver recruit from Pittsburgh, decommit yesterday. Your prized 5-star running back recruit, Keemon Spell, also from the Pittsburgh area. Had an interview after his game yesterday where he out and out said, I'm no longer 100% committed to Penn State. And Terry's got a lot of pull in that area. So I don't know.
That's another reason why you have to make this move, by the way.
Terry. But yeah, it's just what a mess to be in.
But that's another reason that you have to make this move, is because of recruits. And you have to make, because no one wants to come to this now. No. So you've got to make this move. You got to show the recruits. And then, like you said, you probably have to bring in a guy like that. It makes a lot of sense what you're saying. You bring in a guy that has all those connections with those recruits. Doesn't matter what his head coaching experience is in college. Nobody cares about that. No. Just he's experienced enough that he can coach this team to the rest of the season. Yes. Because the main thing is to make sure that the young kids play and that he has those ties with the recruits. Because I'm sure he'll probably be one of the guys that'll be retained on the staff in some capacity, no matter who they hire to be the next head coach.
Yeah, I would assume, if a new coach is in here, if Terry's not on the staff, it's because he doesn't want to be. He's the only staff member remaining from James Franklin's original staff, especially being a letterman. And again, cornerbacks coach, the last few years, Penn State has churned out cornerback about as well, as any school in the Big Ten. So the on-field acumen is there as well, in addition to the recruiting. So there's a lot of reasons to keep him around. And I'm with you. I think he would stay, but it's just, man, I'm at a loss. Like, I really am.
It's because these things don't happen very often.
No, and especially when is the last time we saw a team, and I'm not even going to put Florida State last year in this category, because the expectations for Florida State going into the year were not nearly as high as they were for Penn State this year. When's the last time we saw a true preseason top 2 team completely combust, right? The most recent, any sort of example I can think of, I forget the exact year, maybe 2012, something like that for USC. It was the year they had Lane Kiffin as coach and Matt Barkley as quarterback, and they were preseason number 1. They went like 8-5. But even that, this team isn't winning 8 games. No. They're not getting to 8.
No.
I'm not convinced they're getting to a bowl at this point.
Yeah, this is one of the situations now. See, as a Rutgers fan, this is one of the situations now. Like, when Rutgers plays Penn State this year, like if they finally beat Penn State, it's not even going to feel the same.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, okay, I guess we shouldn't have beaten them. The way things are going.
Yeah, that's why I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier in the week who's a Maryland grad, and that's kind of what he says. Like, on one hand, it's like, man, of all the years for Maryland not to play Penn State. But he goes, on the other hand, he goes, either A, we'd still find a way to lose, or we'd win, and it wouldn't even feel like an accomplishment because you're not actually beating Penn State, Yeah,
Northwestern was put in a really nice spot. They were put in the perfect spot. And look, we talked about it last week. I talked about it on my show. I had 4 double-digit upset plays this week. They were one of them, Northwestern, for the obvious reasons that I said, because you just didn't know how this team was going to respond. You felt look, if they score a touchdown on that first drive, they probably go on to win the game, and it may not even be close. But just like what's happened emotionally and psychologically with this team over the last few weeks, since that didn't happen, the exact opposite happened. You also knew what was going to happen then the rest of the game. You knew this was going to be a tough game, and whether they pulled out or not was going to be down to the last couple of minutes. And it's just this team is just so fragile psychologically that it really just wasn't a big surprise. And you guys talked about it last week about how crazy it was for them to be given 21, 22 points in this spot. They shouldn't have been favored by 22 over anybody. So yeah, I tell you what, I give a lot of credit to the Penn State fans though. They showed up, they were behind the team up until the first interception, of course, but they were there. Let me ask you, because I missed I don't know if I missed a couple of plays or not, but it looked like to me that they were just running down their throats in the first drive. And then they decided to throw the ball. Yeah, I was like, why are they throwing the ball on 2nd and 2? Just run the ball. You're probably going to score a touchdown.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to this offense, right? Katron Allen averaged 5.6 yards per carry today, and they were better. He got 16 carries, which are more than what he normally gets. But like you said, just ride him. Like every time Katron Allen touched the ball, you felt like they had the ability to do something. Every time any player other than Katron Allen touched the ball, it didn't feel like they had the ability to do anything. Maybe Devontae Ross, he had a nice game today, 7 catches for 115, but he also had a back-breaking muffed punt. Like, it's just, I don't get it. Sometimes Andy Kotelnicki, I feel like, just overthinks things and gets way too cute. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's really, I didn't want to start that by going down over the game because the game is senseless.
The game's pointless at this point.
There's nothing to really talk about. I tell you what, let's pop up the press conference. There was about 8 minutes of it. Let's see if we find out any. Oh, wait, no, I got to get the volume in here. Hold on a second. Let's see if we get anything useful out of this press conference. I doubt we will, but let's give it a try.
We'll start with an opening statement from Coach. Then raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.
First of all, you got to give Northwestern and Coach Braun a ton of credit. We shouldn't lose that game. It's 100% on me, and we got to get it fixed. And I will get it fixed. Open it up to questions.
We'll go right here to Mark and then Rich.
James, I think you were getting to the point that your team made a lot of mistakes it usually doesn't make. There's a lot of noise out there about you specifically. Are you worried that the team is distracted by all the publicity around you?
Yeah, we have worked really hard to keep the building as positive and close out all that noise as we possibly can. But for me to say that it doesn't impact them would not be honest.
Rich, then Audrey.
James, to your right. Why do you think that the run defense has been so porous these last 2 weeks?
Yeah, again, probably the answer that you don't want, that I need to watch the tape. But at the end of the day, the stats and the results are what they are, and it's my.
Is there a player that has been really and this is important for scouting and looking at the draft? Is there a couple of those linemen, Durant especially, but is there any of those players that are going to the next level that you felt have kind of given up, that weren't given their all, that you really expected more out of?
I'm not necessarily going to say maybe giving up, but Zane Durant had not played well this year, especially scoring. I would argue that Durant's been the basis on this entire team. He's just been just a ghost. He's been nowhere to be seen. He had that interception in non-conference play against whoever it was, but he had a sack today. But it's just Zane Durant really has been a major letdown. I think with Denai, a big issue with him is people expected him to step in and be this next great game wrecker as a defensive end at Penn State. And that's just not his game, which is fine. He's an extremely high floor guy. He's going to be one of those guys that goes to the NFL as a 3-4 end. and puts together one of those like 12-year careers where he quietly goes to like 7 Pro Bowls and is always really good, just never great. So it's easier for teams to kind of take him out of things. But yeah, I would definitely argue that Zane Durant has, been maybe the biggest disappointment on this team this season.
Okay. So he's lost the most stock. Okay.
I would,
All right.
yeah, of the linemen, I would say Durant definitely has lost the most draft stock this year.
Okay.
Responsibility to get it fixed. And we will get to work tomorrow and probably even tonight. Again, it's totally on me, and we'll do everything we can to get it fixed.
Audrey, then Neil.
James, do you have any update on Drew Aller, and do you expect that he'll maybe be able to go in the coming days?
Dad said yes, ready for the league.
Yeah, so Drew will be done for the year.
Neil.
The reason I turned and looked is I do not release that information until I clear it with the kid and the family. And I had talked to Drew, but I had not heard back from the family before I came in.
Neil and then Greg.
James, what do you think is missing? Is there a lack of connection, coach to staff, to players? And is there an NIL era? Does that change the dynamic after a team takes, say, the loss to Oregon? Has there been a disconnect since then?
Yeah, there's obviously a ton of different dynamics in college football. There's a ton of different dynamics in college football now, but we're all dealing with the same thing. And whatever the situation is now in college football, everybody must embrace it, and that doesn't allow us to use that as the reason. Again, at the end of the day, it is on my responsibility completely, and I take full responsibility for all of it. I hired all the staff, I recruited all the players, believe in all of them, but at the end of the day, we're not getting it done right now, and again, I own that.
Greg, then Bob.
Coach, is there anything you're hearing on the headset when you guys are on offense that maybe gives you an indication, without watching the film of this game, but just overall throughout the course of the year, but also tonight, about why things haven't worked on offense up until the end of the, a couple times you were able to work tonight?
Yeah, I thought, early in the game, we got the running game going. K-Tron was very productive. Obviously, Nick was able to get the touchdown as well. The early turnover obviously was significant because we went right down the field after the block punt, and we're in a great situation. That was obviously a big series in the game. You go down and you score on that drive, could be a very different game. But again, we got to handle whatever comes and respond to whatever comes. But I thought early on we were able to run the ball and mix some things up. In the second half, we weren't able to run the ball either.
Bob, then Ellie.
James, just following up on Greg's question, Devontae Ross had a nice game for you. He had a real big play there. You guys took the lead. The other guys you kind of added in the transfer portal, the wideouts. Just your thoughts on Pena and Hudson. They weren't really much of a factor in this game, and it's kind of happened more than once this season. I also think Kyron had at least 1 or 2 drops. Just your thoughts on maybe getting more inability to consistently get more playmakers involved, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It can't just be the running back and one wide receiver. We need multiple guys making plays. We need to distribute the ball. We need to get as many guys involved because they're capable. So again, that is on me to make sure that happens. And again, all I can say is I take full responsibility.
Ellie, then Sauber.
James, we've heard the emotion from the fan base and we saw yours post-game. Do you still want to be the head coach here at Penn State, and do you have confidence that this is a group of people that can turn this around this season?
Yeah, for me, it's always been about our players, and those guys are hurting right now, and the fans are frustrated, and I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. We have great fans here. We get unbelievable support. And I understand their frustration. Trust me. We're as frustrated as anybody, guys in the locker room. But to me, ultimately, it's about the guys. It's about the guys in the locker room. And they're hurting in there. And I do anything I could to take that hurt away from them. But like I told them, we got to stick together. We got to tune out all the noise, and we got to get to work. That's the only answer, is get to work. We've had some adversity in the past, not like this, and we're gonna get to work. And I love those kids. I am committed to those players in that locker room, and I've been that way for 12 years. And I've been that way for 15 years of my head coaching career, and I've been that way for 30 years. That won't change. That won't change. It's always been about the players for me. That won't ever change. That's what it's all about for me. So my commitment is to the guys in that locker room, and all the guys that have been in that locker room in the past. So that's where my commitment is.
Last two, Sauber and then Mike.
James, I know you said that you're committed to players and everything, but do you still think it's best for your career to be the head coach of Penn State?
Yeah, I take full responsibility for what's happened tonight. I take full responsibility.
Okay, that's getting boring. All right, so
I will say I have one, maybe that's a little bit in the weeds type of thing. When he was asked about Drew, when it's a season-ending injury, James Franklin almost always says either long-term injury or calls it a season-ending injury, typically long-term injury. When he said his season is done, now obviously Drew Aller's hurt. There's no denying that. But it makes me wonder if it's not actually season-ending injury, but it's hey, I'm
I agree.
Cut this down.
Yes.
And go get ready for the draft on a healthy injury.
Yeah, because the season's over.
That was a big thing to me. Yeah, that was a big thing to me. Also, at the very end there, when he asked, do you believe what's best for your career is still be the head coach of Penn State? Boy, did he ever dance around that question.
Yeah. I mean, take full responsibility.
Yeah, and you can give a very generic, like, yeah, this is where I want to be. I love this place. I don't know. I do wonder too with him. Maybe it's not a true firing. Do you try and work something out both sides? Negotiate a buyout of some sort to end this on a more applicable term.
Oh, well, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to figure it out.
I mean, best, but yeah, I don't know. It's just remarkable to me that they're at this point. I mean, I'm never going to say this is the lowest point I've ever seen, because as someone who had the misfortune of remembering that god-awful off weekend in November of 2011, nothing will ever be lower than that, maybe in the history of college sports, let alone for Penn State football. But, off-field scandals aside, this is an all-time low. This might be worse than that stretch in the early 2000s where they had 4 losing seasons in 5 years. So much was expected of this.
Sure.
That's the thing.
Especially when you have Michigan winning, Ohio State winning.
Yep.
Everybody came back this year. The key guys came back this year because this was their year.
You were supposed to be this year's Michigan, be this year's Ohio State. That's where, to me, this is worse than some of those teams. I mean, the early 2000s are often referred to as the dark ages amongst Penn State fans. And, hopefully this doesn't turn into a 4 or 5 year stretch like that. But regardless of what happens, I think you could argue this in terms of just sheer disappointment for a season. This might be number one, because it's not even like 1999 where you were 9-0 and ranked number 1 in the country and lost your last 3 games. This thing went off the rails immediately.
Oh, I mean, they started the year top ranked?
They started number 2.
2. Okay.
Yep.
Who was number 1?
Texas.
Okay. Yeah, well, that didn't last more than a week. So, yeah.
But I mean, Texas beat Oklahoma today. So they're going to, at least they finally have something going in their favor. But even in that 1999 season that ended so poorly, when it looked like you were going to win a national championship, you didn't feel like the program was like in a crossroads like it is now. Joe Paterno went on to coach for 10 or 11 more years after that. They won, I think, 3 more Big Ten titles. Like, there was still a lot of success after that for Joe Paterno. You feel like you're at a spot now where James Franklin, where you're not. I don't know if that's possible to continue.
It's not. It can't. And I know one thing is for sure is, like I said at the top, is if it's either we're backing him. He's our guy. He's not going anywhere. You hear this tomorrow, not Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or he's fired tomorrow morning. That's it.
Yeah.
It's over.
There
It's
can't
one or
be
the
any
other.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't not say anything. This has a 100%. Something has to be said to with all those recruits, everything. That's what this is for. What do you think is? Well, one more thing on Franklin, first of all, and that is the fact that I think that the reason the nail in the coffin really that hurts him more than anything are all of the big losses. If he had some sort of a reputation for winning some big games, it would be a little easier to hold on to him.
Yes.
But he doesn't have that. And it makes things a little bit easier for whoever's going to make the final decision to be like, look, I mean, what am I holding on to here? I mean, what has he ever shown? What has he ever given the university in a big spot? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that really is the thing that is going to hurt him and make it a lot easier to let him go.
I agree. I mean, just go back to last year. If you don't choke away that semifinal game against Notre Dame, things are probably a lot different. If you're coming off a national championship game appearance and this is going on, I think you feel much different, right? But that game was just prior to the Oregon game this year, the latest in a long line of big game failures. And that Notre Dame one was one that was especially painful because for most of the game, you physically dominated in the trenches. You probably should have had a bigger lead than you did at halftime.
And they were a banged up team.
Yeah.
They had like 4 or 5 key players that weren't even playing in the game.
Right. And you have Abdul Carter out there with one arm as the best player on the field. And you couldn't close it out. And so, yeah, I agree with that. Where if he had a better track record in those types of games, this is even if they would have beat Oregon. I think if you beat Oregon and the last 2 weeks still happen, you're still looking at this much differently because you're saying, hey, you know what? Just survive Iowa, get to the bye week. You got that win against Oregon. If you can get over Ohio State and Indiana, you're still there. But, and again, yes, I get it. I know they've been closing branch campuses, all that. But excuse me, I know there's people don't want to hear this stuff. At any major university, your football program means more to you than branch campuses. It's a bigger money generator. It is. It's going to Penn State football generates more money for the university than Penn State Berks or Penn State Clearfield or Penn State Altoona or Penn State Punxsutawney ever will. And B, the thing with James's buyout, the way the contract is written, it does not have to be paid in a lump sum. They have until the end of the calendar year in 2031 to pay it. So if they would fire him tomorrow and do monthly payments on the buyout, you're looking at roughly about $760,000 a month from now to the end of 2031.
And that's manageable.
Any sports department the size of Penn State University can find a way to pay that easily.
Yeah.
Right. And with where you're at right now, in terms of just overall feeling of the fan base around the program, you would have a lot of donors who would gladly chip in to make sure that gets paid.
Absolutely.
Right? So I don't think the buyout is the deterrent that a lot of people think it is.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, we've seen them before. It's happened before. So
I mean, Jimbo Fisher had literally like an $80 million buyout, and Texas A&M found a way, right? And look what Mike Elko has quickly accomplished. You're in year 2, and you're thinking to yourself, Texas A&M might be the best team in the SEC.
And by the way, they wouldn't make these types of investments if they didn't feel like they could get out of it or they could pay it off.
No school is going to tie themselves to a contract they can't find a way out of.
No, it seems like that when they make it because it's such a high number. So the average person believes, oh, that's it. They're tied in. No, it's just not.
And I think the biggest thing too, if you're Penn State with this, if you don't make a move, let's just say they don't make a move. They plan to go into 2026 with James Franklin still as your head coach. How many times have we seen before programs where, hey, this is the first real disastrous year? And I'm not talking like that year, for example, where at Notre Dame where Brian Kelly got wrecked with injuries and went like 3-9 and the following year we're back in the playoff, right? Where there's no real reason for this. You can see the red flags everywhere. Look at programs that have waited too long to react to that. Clemson is what Clemson is now. Texas A&M with Jimbo, right? We've seen it before where you wait too long and you dig yourselves into a little bit of a hole. I think that's the risk you run, right? If you move on from him, yeah, next year might be rough because you've got to rebuild a roster. You're going to have kids portal, your recruiting class, all of that. But if you,
but it is easier to quickly improve your rosters now more than ever.
When you're a school like Penn State, where you're going to get a great hire, and odds are that hire is going to be able to bring some guys with them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Look, Kurt Signetti. A big reason he had so much success year one at Indiana is he took JMU's roster with him.
Yeah.
Right. That was a big part of it.
And that's going to happen if they hire the right coach. Yeah.
Yeah. When Jed Fish went to Washington, a big reason why Washington's 5-1 now or whatever it is, because a lot of the kids who made up that Arizona team that won 10, 11 games a couple years ago, they went with him to Washington. Right.
Yep.
So, that's part of it. But if you don't make this move and you look ahead the next year, which was already going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, you're running the risk of really setting this program back.
I mean, if they don't make this move and they come out and they say we're entirely with Franklin, they just for any of the fans out there that are hoping to move on, you're going to get a big disappointing blow tomorrow or in a couple of days, whenever that announcement will be made, because that means he's not going anywhere for a while. Because if they don't get rid of him now, it's not going to happen for a while. So, and that's why I said, I am going to be shocked if he's not fired. Shocked.
Yeah. And
not at the end of the year, tomorrow morning.
And again, I hate talking like this about anybody, especially someone who by all accounts is genuinely a great human being, but I hope you're right. Like, it's what's best for the program. Hell, it's probably what's best for James Franklin at this point.
Yes.
Right. Just go press restart. The thing is with James Franklin, if he wants to find another head coaching job, he'll get one.
He'll be fine. Yes.
There are plenty of schools, even with this year, there are plenty of schools out there who would still fire their coach to bring him in. If he doesn't want to do that, the guy would kill it in media. He is so good at that sort of stuff.
Oh, he'll be a head coach. You would guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. I'm just saying, even if he wanted to take a couple years off from coaching, and just
I guess so. He's got all that money. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. He's going to be fine. I know I've made this analogy a lot in recent weeks. Andy Reid and Eagles, right? Both sides were ready. It was time to move on. Everything comes to an end, and that's where they were. Andy Reid's gone on to have a lot of success. The Eagles have gone on to have a lot of success. I think Penn State and James Franklin are in a similar spot. And, the head coaching thing too, again, you're Penn State. Yeah, you're not that top tier job that, that they were. A lot of Penn State fans, I think, are still stuck in the mid 90s, 80s, 70s when this was legitimate, one of the 5-6 best jobs in the country. You're not that anymore. This is still easily a top 10, 15 at worst job in college.
Absolutely.
You can win a national championship at Penn State. Yes. Everything is in place to win a national. They almost did it last year. Yeah. You're going to have your pick. There are a lot of great coaches out there who are at schools that are not as well equipped to win a national championship as Penn State is. You're going to be able to make a great hire. It's going to be up to Pat Kraft and that crew to make it happen, but you're going to have every resource available to go out and make a tremendous hire and keep humming along and keep winning a lot of football games and maybe even elevate some things, because I think Franklin's had this program. They've been at that ceiling for a long time now. And, just a fresh voice, a fresh whatever, maybe even just kind of, I've said it before, where I think a lot of it's a mental roadblock too with this program right now and in those big games. And now it's really spiraling on them. Just getting a fresh start, even on that front, I think can go a long way for them. And just, I'm with you. It's time. It's
going to be interesting to find out which, and I'm sure that we'll have the discussion in the next week or maybe even next week if he is fired. There's more than enough time to talk about, what direction to go, but that is going to be interesting to find out where they would want to go. Like what kind of level, like would they really seriously go after the Kenny Dillinghams? Would they go, are there any coaches ready in the NFL? Are there any, and it could be assistant coaches. We talked about the group of 5. I don't know. And again, that's why I'm going to even bring up like a Ricky Ronnie, because would they go in that direction with a group of 5 coach? Or do they feel like this is Penn State? That would be our 5th or 6th choice. We have got to aim high and go after the best of the best. Because again, Dillingham right now is the hottest name out there. The thing is, for him to leave Arizona State, it's going to take like a lot.
And I think with Dillingham, I know people point to Arizona State alum thing, which is legit. It's also, if you're Arizona State, and I know this is kind of getting more in the nitty gritty than a lot of people realize, the state of Arizona is booming in terms of high school football recruiting because due to the price of living in Texas and California, a lot of families are moving to Arizona. So you're going to just keep getting a better and better in-state recruiting base. Also, name one reason Arizona State can't be the program that runs the Big 12.
Sure.
And
I agree. Nowadays, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
right now. And
it's a lot easier.
Yes. Every year. Yeah. There's, I think there might be an easier path to a national championship at Penn State than Arizona State, but there's an easier path to the playoff at Arizona State. And as long as you're in, you got a chance, right?
Yeah, that's true. No. And again, that's why it's so tough. Yeah. But is there someone else out there though, similar to Dillingham, or is he pretty much like on a level all by himself, and then you have to go and look at a couple of the retreads?
I mean, I definitely think he's your first call. I think he's going to be the first call for a lot of jobs, this cycle, whether it's Penn State, Florida, assuming Napier gets canned. And that's another example of a program where it's like, hey, let's give them one more try, and look where they're at.
That's true.
It's not impossible. Auburn's going to open up, right? I'm sure a lot of these schools, if things go sideways in Baton Rouge, LSU could open up. He's going to be the first call for a lot of these schools. But I just think what's important, if we get to this point, what's important for Penn State fans to keep in mind, the super sexy hire may not always be the right hire. Ryan Day wasn't a super sexy hire. Marcus Freeman felt like a lazy hire almost by Notre Dame, right? Dan Lanning, he was a rising star as a defensive coordinator, but he was a very young defensive coordinator. And I think things have worked out okay for those three. I get with Kirby Smart, maybe it's a little bit different because of being from the Saban tree and people had known for a few years, hey, Kirby's going to be a guy. But again, he had no head coaching experience of any worth, right? So,
and you're going to need a younger coach nowadays too.
I agree. And that's for Dillingham. I'm a big John Summerall guy down at Tulane, but I don't think Summerall is going to leave the South. I think he would rather do another year at Tulane than not hold out for an SEC job personally. You don't have to poach a sitting power coach. You can try. Other than Dillingham, I mean, Eli Drinkowitz is a guy I would gladly make a phone call to in a heartbeat. I mean, talk about a full circle moment. Bring Bo Pribulo back with him, and
maybe he can go back to Vanderbilt again. It worked the first time.
Yeah, big guy. Just trade him for Clark Lee.
Hey, you know what? It worked out. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, that's true. Where would James Franklin go if that job opened up?
Not to get it too far off the rails, and where does James Franklin go? But I did see someone on Twitter today with an edit of him in North Carolina. And in all honesty, I think that would be a perfect fit for James Franklin, North Carolina. Because let's be honest, Belichick, this is going to be a one and done.
Well, I don't know. Nobody expected it to be a quick fix. I mean, North Carolina State job might actually open up.
Yeah, but I think a spot like that would be great for him. But anyway, if you're Penn State, it's just if you're Pat Kraft, you need to have your Rolodex of coaches. You need to already be talking to agents. Matt Rule is going to get tossed around because Nebraska's having a good year, largely due to their schedule. And Matt Rule and Pat Kraft work together at Temple. They're still best friends. If I remember correctly, they're like the godfather to each other's children. Kraft's a State College native Rule, a State College native and a Penn State alum. That's a name that's going to get tossed around. But it's just you're going to be able to hire a good coach if you want. Yeah. It's going to be up to you to make it happen. This one might be a bit of a take. If I'm Penn State, I wouldn't be afraid to call Urban Meyer and see if he's interested in one last run. I mean, I don't know how many people watching this know this because it's been so long, but had everything not transpired the way it did in 2011, the succession plan was already in place that Joe Paterno was going to retire at the end of the year. Urban Meyer had already been approved behind closed doors by the board of trustees. He was set to be the next head coach of Penn State when he took that year off after he left Florida. Now, once the Ohio State job opened up, may have changed anyway, but he's had interest in the job before.
How old is he?
I don't think Urban's as old as people think. I want to say.
Is he in his 60s?
I think no, hold on, give me a second here. I'm pulling it up, but I think he's early 60s. Hold on, my computer's being a pain. 61. But
That's not that bad.
no, and again, it's Urban Meyer. A name recognition alone, he's
Well,
going to
exactly.
and he's going to be
You
able to
just
hire
need,
any assistant coach
because
you want.
he could win a national championship for you in 3 years.
Yeah,
So
and then get the program, elevate it,
Yeah.
and similar to what he did at Ohio State, hand it off to whoever Penn State's Ryan Day would be,
sure.
and you keep humming along, right? So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, if you're Penn State, you're going to be able to make a strong hire. There's no
absolutely.
reason to think they can't get a great coach in here. And I think for Penn State fans, it's weird because Penn State, we're not used to coaching searches. Joe Paterno was here for a lot of fans their entire life. And then the Bill O'Brien coaching search was a mess because at the time, and understandably so, nobody wanted to touch Penn State. And then when O'Brien moved on to the NFL, I think everyone almost immediately was like, yeah, it's going to be Franklin. He's a Pennsylvania native. He's killing it at Vanderbilt. It's got to be Franklin. So even that coaching search wasn't really – yeah,
And that guy doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's the thing. There isn't. So, I mean, the only real coaching search, the closest thing to a normal coaching search that Penn State fans have ever seen in their life, you kind of knew going in it was probably going to be either Franklin or Al Golden anyway. Most likely Franklin, and that's how it shook out. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So they wouldn't interview. So they interview Golden, by the way?
Yeah, it was reported, obviously incorrectly by some in the media, that Golden had accepted the job. And I think –
do you think he'd get another interview if the job opened up?
I've had some discussions with people who think he would and they think it'd be worthwhile. I don't know how I'd feel about Al Golden at this point. Now, I will say he struggles in Miami. I don't think he was a cultural fit at Miami at all. Golden is too much of that like blue collar build, that kind of chemistry and culture within your program. And I understand why Miami wanted that at the time, coming out of the Nevin Shapiro nonsense, but it was never going to work for him in Miami, I don't think. But I think the guy's a great defensive mind. I just don't know how I'd feel about him as a head coach in the Big Ten. But I'm still amazed that this is where we're at with what the expectations were coming into the season.
Yeah,
I think coming into the year, you might have been able to argue that outside of maybe like Ryan Day, James Franklin had maybe the best job security in the country because of what he's done.
Well, look what happened. Almost happened to Ryan Day last year.
Yeah. Because of what he's done, because of what the expectations were, because of the way the 2027 recruiting class was shaping up, that James Franklin may have had some of the best job security, if not the best job security in the country. And now October 11th, we're not even to Columbus Day.
Well,
here we are.
Tomorrow will be an interesting day. Again, as I said, you would really feel confident that we're going to hear something. Whether they back Franklin or they're going to move on, something needs to be said. And because I'll tell you right now, if nothing is said, that's a bad look for the program.
Yes.
They need to come out and say something. And if Franklin's their guy, then Franklin's their guy, and we should hear that tomorrow. And then I know that even though we're scheduled to have because Minnesota game is going on, so Dylan was unable to be here, but Dylan will join you again on Wednesday for the preview. But if something does occur, then obviously we'll make sure we do some sort of an emergency show sometime as soon as we hear something, if something happens. So keep that in mind. Just look out for any alerts, any tweets. That's why you want to subscribe here to ProLine TV if you're into Penn State football. And we're not going away. Even if James Franklin leaves, this is still going to be happening here, especially if there's a new coach. Should be a lot of excitement with that as well. And these guys are going to be here to talk all about it, even in 2026 and beyond. So, Marty, it was good to talk to you again. We haven't been able to do this since last year. Of course, the last time we did it, it was, even though it was a losing show, like this one, it was under much more still kind of positive, whatever the proper framing of this of that is. But the fact is, it's still Penn State football, and I think as long as the people who know what they're doing at Penn State get this right, then I still think things are going to be okay. So,
Yeah,
All right.
I will say, I remember real quick, just last year after the Orange Bowl, I remember us sitting here, and I'm a big Seuss guy. I remember putting out one of my favorite Dr. Seuss quotes: "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." Talking about last season, how great of a season it was, and here we are again. Where it's, I mean, this time I'm going to cry a little bit, but yeah, it's yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So again, thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a long season, but like I said, we'll see what we hear tomorrow, if we hear anything at all, and we'll be here to talk more Penn State football on Wednesday for the preview of their next contest, and that's going to be Iowa.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, Kinnick Stadium at night, that's where ranked teams go to die, but Penn State's not a ranked team.
So we don't have to worry about that anymore. First start for the young quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're also already dead, so it's kind of hard to go there and die whenever you're already 6 feet under. But hey, last time Penn State went to Kinnick as an unranked team, it was in 2012, and they pummeled Iowa like 45-6 or something. So
you never know.
Maybe get new quarterback, interim coach potentially, and let's see where it goes on Saturday night. I can speak for Penn State fans that between some of the gut-wrenching losses, season-wrecking losses they've taken from Iowa football, some of the comments of Kirk Ferentz after the 2021 game, and just the hatred that exists with Iowa wrestling, we'll never be upset about beating Iowa in anything, even if it's already lost season. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we're again, it'll be Wednesday the latest that we'll see everybody here on Proline TV, the Arled's Football Network, for some more Penn State coverage. So that's going to wrap it up. We'll see everybody again real soon with our other coverage starting next week with more football, NFL, and college, and everything else here on Proline TV. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next time.